Hey there, I'm Crafty Kathy, and I just want to thank you so much for stopping in and crafting and spending a little time with me today. I went to the Goodwill bins here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I came up with 4 Spring and Easter DIY thrift flips for y'all, and let's just jump on in. We're going to start out with this wooden sign, and it's a Christmas sign, and as you can see, it's like one of those standalone type signs. It doesn't really have any stickers on it that I can differentiate like where it came from, but I did go ahead and measure just the sign part. It was a 12 by 16, and that's not counting like the whole legs, that's just the sign part. So my first venture was to get this little wooden house off of the front, and then I just kind of sanded the front down. I'm going to use DIY paint in the color beadboard, which I absolutely love. And guys, this is my little secret. I get these pastry brushes from the Dollar General. They're 2 for $1, and they're basically the same thing as a little chippy brush. I actually like using these because a lot of times I forget to, bring my brushes in and wash them out, and they become nasty and crusty. So for me, if I lose one of these brushes, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas if I lose one of my $30 paint brushes, that kind of bothers me, Let me know if you have discovered these and if you would use them too. I'm actually going to use this sticker that I picked up off of Temu, and it's one of those wall stickers. It's the perfect size to go on the front of this. I didn't really know what else to use this sticker on. I've had it for a few weeks and just wasn't sure what to do with it. Now, I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, that you need to use a white background when you're using one of these stickers, because if you don't, you're definitely going to be able to see that plastic, that just screams, I'm a sticker. And I tried to cut down as close to the image as I could. Temu does a really good job at getting it close, but like up between his ears, it was just a, piece of plastic that was very obvious that it was a sticker. So I went just as close to this image as I could and cut out around the edges so you can't see as much of that plastic. At first, I just tried to pull up a little bit from the top, lay that down, and then just kind of pull out the bottom from it. And I just kind of made a big old mess, and it was all wrinkly. But thank goodness this sticker was very forgiving. It was very easy to get back up and place exactly where I wanted it. It did overhang on the bottom of my picture just a little bit, but that's no problem. I just took an X-Acto knife and cut off that little small amount that was hanging over. I wanted to put some kind of design on the bottom of this with my molds, and I usually use the IOD molds. However, I did get this mold, this little plaque looking thing. It's just like a little, I don't know, just kind of like a little label almost there in the center. I got that from Temu, and I was very, very happy with that. I don't remember how much it was, but there was 5 different ones in that. Then the 2 leaves that I'm going to put one on each side of that is from the Primitive mold by IOD. And as you see, I like to use that Type Bond wood glue. I just put a little bit on the back and then place it down. And I try to leave it there for a few hours, and it's going to be nice and held on. Now, I just made a bunch of molds before I started any of my projects because I love to use them, and they always come in handy. I like having them already ready and on hand. The ladybug and the little snail that I'm placing on both came from Dewdrop Pond, and also I'm going to use a dragonfly up at the top that also came from Dewdrop Pond. Now here I'm going to place a few mushrooms on the bottom, and these came from the IOD mold called Toadstool.
thinking places where you spend your time. Ain't no place I'd rather go. You're funny little.
I'm going to use the color Aviary, which is a beautiful green color by DIY Paint. And I just wanted to bring out that little bit of green that's on that mushroom that the bunny's sitting on. So I went around the frame with 2 coats. As I was drying that aviary color, for a moment I thought maybe I went a little bit dark on this, but as you know, with the DIY paints, they always turn lighter when they dry. They're clay-based and they are just an amazing paint. Now here I'm going to use a Dixie Belle color. I have not used this paint in quite a while, so I do want to put that on my ladybug though, so I gave it a real good shake, and I just kind of used the tip of my finger to go in because I wanted to go in with a few colors of red on my mushrooms and on my ladybug. As you know, when you look at a mushroom, it's not all one color. It has several different colors in there, and that's kind of what I was trying to bring out here. Then I used some different colors that I had laying around. This one is called Pumpkin Spice. It's a very muted orange color. And then this color is called Mud Puddle. And all of these ones that I'm using here are Dixie Belle paints. I got these on clearance like maybe 2 years ago. And so they've been sitting in my stash forever. And I'm just kind of trying to use them up as I go along. I really like that brown color called Mud Puddle. It's kind of the epitome of the color of a mushroom to me. And I just really don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of going around and adding several different colors, kind of mixing and matching until my eye was happy. That's the best way to describe what I'm doing here. I added a lot of that brown, a little bit of the orange here and there, and just a little bit of that red just to give it that touch until when I looked at it, I could say, yep, that's what a mushroom looks like to me. I'm using the color called Mud Puddle on the body of the snail. And then I just stuck the tip of my finger in that red color called Muscadine Wine just to kind of place a little bit of that color on my ladybug. And I did the same thing with the ladybug like I did on the mushrooms. I just used a couple different colors until I felt like it was the color of a ladybug. The color of red that I'm using here is called Carnival Red. It is by DIY Paint. Now, about 2 years ago, or maybe it was just last year actually, I had a lady that had a booth right beside my booth in the vendor spot that I had. And she's a Dixie Belle retailer. She had her paints so low that I couldn't just pass them up. So I bought those. But don't get me wrong, I am a DIY paint girl through and through. I love the clay-based paint. I just love the ease of it. I love the way that it looks on your projects. To me, it is the easiest paint to work with, and I absolutely love it. And if you guys ever do want to try out some of those DIY paints, or even like the molds that you see me use, the stamps, a lot of my products come from Miss Lori over at Milton's Daughter, and I leave her information in the comments and in the description box so that she's easy to find. I always get comments back from you guys saying how sweet she is and how much y'all love her. And I'm telling y'all, Miss Lori's an angel. You probably would never shop anywhere else if you shopped with her. But she also has like pent art products. She has a lot of the rice papers that you see me use. A lot of my products actually come from her shop. She's located up in New York and she is amazing. So go check her out. I'm going to go ahead and finish up my little dragonfly and my little snail, and then I'm just going to set this part aside. While all of my little critters and my mushrooms are drying, I went ahead and pulled out my clickable stamps. These are just some small stamps that I purchased at Michael's, and I spelled out the word cottontail, and I'm using my archival ink. It's a permanent ink to put the word cottontail down at the bottom of my picture. I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. This is called Dragonfly Glaze. It's made by Folk Art, and it's supposed to be kind of like a very light shimmer of a color. And I thought that that would be really pretty on the dragonfly's wings. As I poured the paint out, I realized that it was white, and I'm thinking, okay, is this right? I didn't know if the paint was just, if I've had it for over a year, so I kept thinking maybe the paint's too old and there's no color in it anymore. But as I put it on, I noticed it did have a light bit of a color. Now, I didn't read the instructions, but I'm assuming that the way that you're supposed to use this paint is to put down a light color, let that dry, and then put your dragonfly glaze over the top of it. And it just kind of gives it like that little bit of a shimmering hue that you're looking for. So I decided that I needed some color like a light purple. I looked around, I could not find any color that I was looking for. The purple color that I have in DIY paint, I felt like maybe a little bit too dark for this. So here's what I did. I pulled out this design cream that I have. I think I ordered this off of Amazon. Now, this design cream is what you're supposed to use with like a silkscreen stencil, but I haven't used it in so long, it was hardening up. And so it was very easy for me to just kind of stick my finger in there, get a little bit of purple on the end of my finger, and I used that to color my dragonfly. I didn't want his wings to be a crazy bright color because if you look at a dragonfly, they're not really, their wings aren't that vivid, you know. So the next thing that I'm going to do is just go over the whole picture with my DIY white wax. I went over the whole sign with that white wax, and I didn't go heavy with it. However, I did leave a lot of it on there whenever I wiped it back because I wanted it to kind of calm down the darkness of that green. And then I used my gold leaf colored rub and buff, and I just kind of like highlighted down at the bottom where it says cottontail, and I loved the look of that. It was the perfect touch of gold. I went over all the different molds that I had put on this piece and just gave a little touch of gold here and there. And I liked it so much that I went around the frame just kind of here and there to give a little touch of gold anywhere where I felt like it was needed. And I hope you like this piece. I think it turned out really pretty.
I wanna jump around when I think about yesterday. Your smile, your style so fly, my oh my. As time stood still, I got the urge to steal a kiss, and so I did. Now I'm embarrassed, but just a little bit.
The next piece is a really easy flip. I cannot believe I found this in the bin. The only reason why I can come up with that this was in the bins is because Goodwill was asking an arm and a leg for it. The past few weeks, I've been shopping a lot at Goodwill. And guys, they are asking more for this stuff than what you would pay for it brand new. Somebody explain that to me. It makes no sense to me. I'm like, make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I'm going to use this beautiful DIY paint color called Sea Glass. I don't use this often because it is very bright, but I have a napkin in mind for this, and I feel like it was the right choice. I did put 2 coats of that sea glass on this, and I love this napkin. However, my little napkin had a few spots on it that was kind of like, I don't know if I had already gotten like some liquid patina on it and it kind of hardened or something, but I just kind of went around and ripped out the image the way that I needed. I didn't even use water. I already had the plies pulled off, so it was very easy to go around and just kind of rip it the way that I needed it to go. I'm going to use the DIY liquid patina, and a lot of times I will just work in small sections, but for whatever reason, I just went ahead and put a very, very thin coat over the whole top. And I believe that that is the key when you're working to like a wet decoupage medium. Just put a very thin amount. It really doesn't take much to get this stuff to stick because the napkin is so thin. I laid my napkin down kind of in the middle first, and I used my fingers and worked my way from the center out to work out any wrinkles that was left. There honestly wasn't many wrinkles on this piece. It was very easy to decoupage this piece, and I still pulled out my handy dandy little piece of cling wrap just to make sure that the whole top there was even and that I was good. And if you'll notice, I only went around the edges with that DIY liquid patina just to seal the edges down, because I put such a light coat that there was a few spots that didn't even get much. Now, the more of that liquid patina you put, the more chances I think you have of getting wrinkles. Now, I'm just going to use a light coat of my DIY white wax and go all around this piece. And when I wiped it back, I didn't wipe a lot of it off because I wanted it to be on there. I wanted you to see that white up against that beautiful sea glass color. Some way I always end up getting more wax and paint on my clothing and on myself than what I do on my piece. I hope you like this one.
Can you imagine us two out in the woods in a big old house? We'd pass our days on clouds floating around. Oh, since I met you, I feel unbreakable. Oh, I can take it all. Wish me good luck, give me the courage to ask for more. Oh, there must be gold on those lips and honey on those fingers.
Now this one is going to be a super easy flip. This is one that I had actually picked up last year, and it is an egg cloche. Now I cannot remember if I got this from Goodwill or if I got this elsewhere, but I'm thinking I did get it at Goodwill. All of the projects that I'm showing you today are from the bins, but they're not from one shopping trip. They're from several. Now, the bins here in Chattanooga are kind of a hit and miss, and to be honest with you, most times it's a miss. But every time I go, I can find at least one thing that I can salvage and make something out of. Sometimes I'll watch people on TV and their bins are really good. And then you come to my town and it's like, are you kidding me? But anyways, I'm just getting some leftover residue glue off of this piece here. And once I got all that glue off, I knew that there was one look that I wanted for this. I wanted a very haphazard, dry brushed white look on it. Nothing specific because I'm going to cover it up anyway. Now I had such a small amount of area to work with. This is what I did. I just put a little bit of Spanish moss and some green moss, and I get all of my moss now at Hobby Lobby. Remember, there was those few videos where I told you that I promise it smelled like my moss from Dollar Tree smelled like cat pee. I don't know what it was, but I ain't buying that stuff no more. I just made a little nest with my fingers, and these are the cutest little mushrooms that I found at Dollar Tree. They are so tiny and cute, and I thought that a few of these would be so cute down inside the moss. I put one of the larger ones and one of the smaller ones. And I'm not going to put any glue. I just literally just place those down. And I'm going to use one of these tiny birds that I got off of Amazon. They came in a pack of 6. They're in my Amazon store if you want some. They weren't expensive. I just go around because I can clearly see where that cloche is going to lay on the top. And I cut off any pieces of moss that might be sticking out too far. I took a few little pieces of my air dry clay, just a tiny pinch you saw, and I roll it up to make a little egg. And I ended up making 3 little eggs to go into my nest with my mama bird. I always like to do uneven numbers, so I usually pick 3. And like I said, I just rolled them up, stuck them in there. Guys, can y'all believe today is my birthday, the 22nd, and I am 47 years old. I'm 1 year closer to 50, and I feel all of 87, I promise you, because I'm all crickety and just the health issues that I've been having lately. It comes on really fast after 40. So if you haven't made it to 40 yet, buckle up, baby, because you ain't seen nothing yet. Now here, I am just going to grab one of these tiny little sets of fairy lights. You know that I get these off of Amazon. I get a pack of like, I think it's 16 for like 11 bucks. They're in my Amazon store. I can't do without these because I love to light everything up. I just think it looks so pretty sitting up like on my TV stand or whatever, lit up. What I did was I just, instead of like trying to open up my lights, I just kind of fanned them out. And I'm going to lay it underneath the nest. And I'm going to keep the back part of that cord to where I can just flip it on and off. And it's not going to be in the way of anything. And I can still flip it on and flip it off without having to take the top of the cloche off. And literally, that's all I did to this piece. I just kind of shaped it up with a little haircut here and there and made sure that my little controller was hanging out the back. And I hope you like this one. This very last one is a super easy flip. I actually like this the way that it was. I love that it looked like it was already distressed, and it had a $27.99 Hobby Lobby tag on the bottom of it. Now, there was nothing wrong with this. It wasn't broken. There was absolutely nothing besides the fact that it was dirty. So I cleaned it up really good. And my idea for this one was a lot like the last idea. I have my whole living room area decorated in birds, and I do this every spring. I started about 2 springs ago, and I just keep adding to it every year. I like bird decor anyway, but since it's, became a hot item, it's easier to find things that are bird decor, and I just absolutely love it. And there's no better way to do a spring, theme than birds. So here's my plan. The DIY dark wax was too dark for what I wanted, so what I did, if you noticed, is I used the DIY white wax and lightly went around the whole piece, and then I went over it with the DIY dark wax because that white and that brown will mix together and create a lighter color of, the dark wax, which is what I was going for. So basically all I did was went over this whole piece with the white wax and then with the dark wax, and I lightly wiped it off because I wanted it a little bit more distressed than what it was. And I'm going to keep this piece for my own home. And so what I did was just cut off several little pieces of eucalyptus, which I get from, or maybe it's boxwood, but I think they call it eucalyptus at Walmart. And then this is the lamb's ear from Walmart, the fuzzy lamb's ear. I added a piece of the lamb's ear to give it a little bit of height, and then started adding that eucalyptus and then these small little sprigs of flowers that I get at Hobby Lobby, and they've got just like little pink buds on them. I don't even know what they're called. And I also have some that are purple. And as you see, I couldn't believe that my little bird actually fit through that hole in the front, but he wasn't sitting up high enough because you couldn't see him through the front of the little hole there. So I wanted to add more. And you can see that that's all I'm doing is just pulling off these little, I think they're called eucalyptus at Walmart. I just popped them off of there, and I'm just sticking some more in there, and I'm only putting it in there to give that bird some height so he can sit up where I want him to. And I added some of these little white flowers that I also get at Hobby Lobby, and they look like baby's breath, but that's not what they're called at Hobby Lobby. Now, I cut the whole stem off of those because I didn't want any stems sticking out or flipping out. And when you have such a small area to stick your fingers, it's kind of hard to get everything exactly where you want it to go, which I actually, in the end, I just finagled with it and fooled around with it and got everything where I wanted it and set my little bird up in there. Then I saw these small little lavender flowers that I had. They look like very small pieces of lavender that I got from Hobby Lobby, but I can't be 100% sure. And I'm just cutting those off of there, and every little here and there, I'm just sticking a little piece of purple just to give it a little pop of color. And that's all I did to this. It was such an easy flip.
Well, I wanna take a ride in the wheelbarrow in your mind. Take me all around to the thinking places where you spend your time. Ain't no place I'd rather go. You're a funny little critter and I love you so. And I wanna take a ride in the wheelbarrow in your mind. I come and sit down with me in a rocking chair. Coffee pot is nice and hot. We can sit in our underwear. Tell me about the dreams you had last week, swimming all around with the fish in the sea. Come sit down with me in a rocking chair.
I do want to thank each and every one of y'all for stopping in and crafting and chatting and just sitting a spell with me today. I do appreciate every one of y'all for subscribing and giving me a thumbs up, and for those of you that comment. Every bit of that helps my channel, and I thank y'all so much. This is just a hobby of mine that has turned into, I absolutely love it, and I just don't thank y'all enough, and I don't tell y'all how blessed and how loved I feel when I read y'all's comments, and I just have connected with a lot of y'all, and I thank you for that. Don't forget to join me every Monday and Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And you guys know that I'll be here cooking up another one for yous, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Did you know that if you've got a cell phone and you click on my face right here, it will subscribe you to my channel? It sure will. And if you like this type of video, I have another one right here that has very similar content, and if you just click on it, it'll take you there here in just a second. I love y'all, and God bless.